All through 2020, everyone's only been talking about the coronavirus pandemic and how it's thrown life out of gear, crippled so many lives across the world. And that's why the focus has largely been on a coronavirus vaccine. We're nearing the end of 2020, and at this point, there's no vaccine. But yes, there have been a lot of positive developments that give us hope that very soon we'll have a vaccine. At this point, nearly 150 coronavirus vaccines or candidates are being looked into, and they're in different stages of development. Remember that there is an established protocol that is being followed with regards to trials of these vaccines, and it is a pretty lengthy process. In some cases, you are seeing, because of the urgent need for a vaccine, that process being cut short so that we can at the earliest get a vaccine, but an effective one. So checks and balances have to be in place. In this video, as you may have figured, I'm going to be breaking down how far we've reached with regards to the hunt for a coronavirus vaccine, and I'm going to be breaking down several candidates that really give us some hope and perhaps will give us some positive news in the coming month or so. Let me start off first with the COVID vaccine candidate by Oxford-AstraZeneca. There's been a lot of talk about this vaccine, particularly for the last many months, and perhaps everyone's got their hopes pinned on this vaccine. A lot of positive developments also, because we've been seeing things moving very, very fast. It's right now in the last stage of trials, and if this is approved, reportedly it could even be given to people in Britain, in UK by the end of this year. So that's in December 2020 or by early 2021. That's because we've been seeing a lot of good results coming in with regards to the different trials. Right now, it's in the last stage. So if that hurdle is crossed, it'll mean that we finally have a vaccine. India too is waiting for the results of these last stage trials, and if successful, it will be distributed here as well by Serum Institute of India. In fact, Serum Institute of India CEO Adar Poonawalla said that it could be very soon available in India. So if the final trials go as planned and are in fact showing positive results, it will mean that in India too, we could see the vaccine coming in by early 2021. Remember that Serum Institute of India is working in collaboration with AstraZeneca, which is a British-Swedish pharma major. They are the ones who are working with Oxford currently to develop this vaccine. So besides this particular vaccine by Oxford and AstraZeneca, there's a lot of talk of something that's called as ultra-potent. What exactly is this? Well, it's something that scientists have discovered of late in their hunt for a vaccine. And what this essentially does, this particular vaccine candidate, is that it produces a high level or a high amount of antibodies to fight the virus. It's not been tried on humans yet. So far, it's only been tried on animals. And what they've noticed is that it produces a huge amount of antibodies. And what's also been noticed about this ultra potent is that it requires very, very small vaccine doses. So at 6-fold lower vaccine doses, it creates a huge amount of antibodies. What it essentially does, ultra potent, is that it affects and hits the spiky protein. If you've seen the projection of coronavirus, it shows it as a round figure with spikes. So it affects the spiky protein, which means that it's not able to latch on to bodies. That is the essential idea of the ultra potent. Yes, it creates antibodies in your system, but like I mentioned, this has a long way to go, because right now it's only been tried on animal models, on primates as well as on mice. That brings me to another vaccine candidate, Johnson & Johnson's experimental vaccine candidate. There's been a lot of talk about this as well, because several countries have already begun trials of different stages on this vaccine. One of those countries is Brazil, which has been steaming forward with the J&J vaccine candidate. Remember that Brazil is one of the worst affected countries in the world, has the second highest death toll due to coronavirus as well after the United States. But there was a bit of a hiccup with regards to the J&J vaccine trials in Brazil, because there was a complication after one of the candidates who was administered this vaccine developed some health complications. It, however, was smoothed out because there was a health study that was conducted. This person was evaluated. These trials then resumed even in the United States. So this too is moving forward. It's not reached the same stage as Oxford and AstraZeneca, but there is still some hope that Johnson & Johnson also could come out with a viable option. There are some countries also that are in fact ramping up the speed and are pushing forward, steaming ahead really with the hunt for a vaccine. Take for example Mexico, where in fact they've received the first doses of a COVID-19 vaccine candidate from a Chinese firm. This is a Chinese pharmaceutical company called CanSino Biologicals, and their vaccine candidate has been given to Mexico. The Mexico government has also confirmed that about 10,000 to 15,000 of these doses will be given in the form of a late-stage trial, and if that is successful, then it will be distributed to all people in the country. And that's the plan. The country has in fact said that they aim to vaccinate every single person by the end of 2021. So that gives them just about a year, not just to complete their trials, the late stage trials and the last round of trials, and then to go ahead and come out with an effective vaccine program so that every single person in Mexico is vaccinated. And it's not just Mexico. There are several countries who are trying to also do what they can to get a vaccine. Take Australia, for example. They've signed deals to get, in fact, two perhaps COVID vaccine candidates, two very promising ones. One is by Novavax and the other is Pfizer and Biotech. So these are different doses. What Australia has done is, for example, in Novavax, they've signed deals to buy 40 million of these vaccines. And then from Pfizer and Biotech, you've got about 10 million that Australia is planning to buy. Besides that, also, they've got deals with AstraZeneca for the Oxford vaccine. So this is essentially where Australia has ensured that they have a backup plan. If one vaccine moves forward ahead of the other, they've got these multi-deals to ensure that their citizens and Australians get to the vaccine first. So that's the latest as far as the hunt for a coronavirus vaccine is concerned. As I mentioned, this is essentially a race against time because everyone's hoping that by 2021 there's some sort of normalcy that returns. One thing is very clear: even if we see a vaccine coming out maybe in 1 month, 2 months, or even 3 months, after that the focus will be on an effective vaccine distribution plan, not just of every country, but to ensure that these vaccines are produced at such mass doses that it can reach everyone across the world.